Today I'm taking a look at the Varia VS3 grinder. It's definitely striking in its looks. It's under the $600 mark. Is it your next single dose grinder? Well, stick about, I'll tell you all you need to know. Varia is certainly a brand that's making an impression in the home specialty coffee market. And to say the VS3 is a highlight for them, well, it definitely is. This little grinder definitely looks beautiful in the home environment, has some great options and a few upgrades that you could use. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what the VS3 is all about. Well, firstly, it is a single dose grinder, and that means that you have the ability to pop individual portions into the top of the grinder. It has a very low retention, so when you start the grinder, what ends up in your dosing pot down the bottom is a very low amount between the top and the bottom in terms of grind variables. And it does have a little cool bellow that comes with it to clear it all out. So it's not a big hopper grinder. So it's not one bean and you have to use that all the time. You've got easy access to be able to change from a single origin to a decaf or perhaps a blend very quickly and easily and dial them in for your home espresso. In terms of features, it's a very compact, minimalistic style grinder which comes in the white or the black here. It does come with its own bellow system which you can place on top, or you can just have the lid which is magnetic that'll sit straight on the top. Inside here you can fit 30 grams of actual coffee under the lid, or you can fit a little bit more if you put the bellow on the top. You've got stepless grind adjustment from the top, which comes down to a conical burr set. The standard burr set is a 38mm hardened steel, stainless steel burr set with 6 fins, I believe, to be able to grind nice and fine. Now there are options to upgrade that, which I'll talk a little bit later. You then have a little anti-popcorn device, which is a little rubber gasket which you can pop in on top of the beans to help them from jumping back out of those conical burr set. With the stepless grind, you do have a little arrow there to allow you to know exactly where you're going to reposition your grind, and that ring does pull off quite easily but magnetizes back on. It's a very simple, easy grinder to work because there's only one button. It's on or off. As the grind comes out, this tiny nice little chute, it does have an auto-locating magnetic dosing pot, which is pretty cute. It is only a 54mm, so it's not going to fit your standard 58mm basket. You will need to use a funnel of some sort for that to fit in, but it does fit straight into your entry-level 54mm Breville style units. The motor is a 96 watt motor, over 24 volts, and it has 170 RPM. So that's relatively slow. So we're trying to reduce the friction that's going to be applied to those beans, but it will increase the grind time as well. And Varia does give you this really cute little misting bottle, which is definitely worth giving it a go. I've done a couple of tests, and you can see that when we've ground without the mister, it does have a little bit more of a static that's starting to form around the spout as it's coming out into the dosing pot. By misting it, we did find that was reduced, but when we looked at the grind, it looked a little bit more consistent when we've misted as opposed to not misting. So whether that is a technical, advantage, well, grind mess and all of those issues that come with it is something you want to consider by misting. It does help that. It will help static cling and grind particle size uniformity, but it might not be your ideal thing to be putting extra water onto your beans. If you want to go down to the higher science of it, well, you certainly can. There's a lot of videos out there which could give you a bit more detailed information on that. To suggest that the 38mm stainless steel standard burrs are here to do all types of grind is probably not ideal. You may find this is going to be okay for espresso, but definitely for your filter, your plunger or coarser grinds, it's going to be very adequate. Now I say that because there are a range of different burrs that you can add to these grinders. They're certainly a higher cost, but the grade of steel and the coatings on them is really designed for espresso quality. You could buy yourself the Hypernova burr set with the iridescent blue in the stainless steel. It is a harder stainless steel than the standards, and that titanium coating is definitely going to be a better quality when you're trying to get that grind particle size more precise. Reading from the back of the packet, it does say that for espresso predominantly, that you would use these Hypernova burr sets. And it says it's going to give you increased top end range for espresso particle distribution for all grind sizes. A medium high body high clarity and balance is what you're going to expect. Improved durability and heat resistance. We know heat is definitely something you want to think about when you're grinding. You don't want to apply any more heat to your beans. And it says increased particle uniformity and consistency. So just price checking these at the moment, they're $139. And you can actually get a much bigger range of burr sets. You can get a Supernova Gold Titanium, Supernova Black Titanium, a set of replacement stainless steel sets, or the Hypernova Ultras. And they're ranging between $98 and $180. Now, which one's the best? I don't know. That would be a lot of research, and I'm sure someone else has done a video on whether you're going to spend about another 20% more to replace the better set of burr sets in there and see the improvement. Let us know. Have you done it? I'd love to hear what you think about changing up to a better burr set and the improvements that you gained. Now, one of the biggest things people look for is the sound of the grinder. Are you going to wake up your whole family by using this at 5 o'clock in the morning? Most certainly. Have a listen to this. I don't know how well that's picking up on camera, but it is very high-pitched squeal that comes through. It's a very distinct sound that you do get from this grinder. Now for me, my family's up early in the morning, it's not really going to matter. But hopefully that gives you a perspective. I think this is a little bit more motor sound when it gets a bit of torque put on it by actually grinding the beans, because it tends to increase when you've got the beans in there, and then it decreases once the beans are through. It's not so much the burrs making a sound when they're actually grinding the beans. The other thing people like to look at is retention. How many grams are you going to put in the top and end up at the bottom? Well, because of the bellows that is included, which is basically a big pump, you can just push it very easily and you'll get most of your grind out. There's not going to be much retention there unless a bean is caught at the top, on top of your burr set. It does really give you everything just with a couple of presses on top of that bellow. The grind adjustment is very smooth and it is very easy to make a minor adjustment. Now, each marker on here is equivalent to 20 microns or 0.02 of an increment in variance. And the overall shape and aesthetics of the machine is pretty nice. You've got easy access to your dosing cup from 180 degrees because it is that small tilted sort of pillar essentially. It's a very easy to use grinder. It's striking, it's kind of pretty. From the back, it's a little bit plain. So if you do see it from the other side, it would have been nice to have a little bit of a logo on there. But it's going to not stand out or be opposing in any kitchen at all. The two ranges of color definitely allow you to have a bit of flexibility to match your coffee equipment. And if you're short for space and you want some flexibility, it would be a grinder to certainly look at. It looks like a small little light unit, but it's actually 3.5 kilos. So it does feel sturdy on the bench, and the footprint, it's no real worry there. It is a bit of a push to try and make it move. So it does feel grounded and definitely solid for a smaller style grinder. Would I use one of these at home? Possibly. I don't tend to change my beans around a lot. If I did, it would probably be a good option. It's pretty simple, clean and small, and definitely suits my coffee space. And I really do like this little magnetic cup. Unfortunately, I have a 58mm portafilter handle, so that would be a negative to me trying to dose into it all the time. But generally, I think it's a pretty cool little grinder. It definitely is a grinder you should look at if you're under that $600 mark. There's definitely grinders that are certainly more expensive and have a different range of features and maybe some safety mechanisms as well that this grinder doesn't have, because you could put your fingers in there in the top and munch them if you were a little bit silly. But other than that, I think it's a great all-round little grinder that you should consider. If you've got any questions, hey, pop them down below. If you've got one, like I said, with the burrs and you've had a great experience about that or a negative experience, put it down there. I'd love to hear your thoughts around spending a lot more on a set of burrs. Overall, I think it's really great. I really do like these little bellows. They're pretty cool. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.